Welcome back, everybody. A little atmospheric, I wouldn't call it music, atmospheric sound going on in the background to make this a little more interesting for the long-time subscribers who put up with my crap. Oh, wow, that's so yellow. Anyway, yeah, so we're back to this guy. This is called a Latitude E6410. And for the Linux guys out there, the reason I have Windows 7 on this laptop is because Windows 7 is so much better than Linux. Anyway, without getting into that discussion, yeah, this is a classic. And yeah, this is that janky one. I put like the tape over the missing door and wedged a credit card in there to try and keep the hard drive in place. So it's the janky laptop, as I've been calling it. But anyway, we're at the point where I've finally fully updated it, installed the standard apps that I use, updated it to the last version of Windows 7 updates, and yeah, it's all good. Just get this out of the way. Move my coffee out of the way here. For those of you interested in such things, I do have an Internet Archive page that does have the files required to update Windows 7 64-bit to the point where it will start to update itself using Windows updates. I also have I've also uploaded the install drivers and support software to get this thing fully updated to be what it was back in the Windows 7 era when it first came out. So if you're somebody who likes to restore laptops to their old condition, that's up on the Internet Archive on my page for those interested. All right, moving on here. So yes, we're back to the i5. It's in pristine shape, frankly. For a janky laptop with no door and no hard drive and everything else, it's actually in pretty decent shape, as I believe the Utmost Geek is, yeah, this is handle, I guess, Shay has mentioned. All right, so getting down to it here, let's talk about this laptop from a specs perspective using these standard apps I use to analyze my systems because it's convenient. So let's go, first of all, because we can, I like always to look at the Windows 7 specs or system stuff. And so we can see that it's a Windows 7 Ultimate Service Pack 1 64-bit running a Intel i5 M520 at 2.4 gigahertz, one of the first gen i5s, running at 2 gigahertz, running at 2.4 gigahertz, and it's got 4 gigabytes of RAM, 64-bit operating system, allowing us to use all the RAM. It's upgradable to 8, I believe, but I don't have that kind of memory, nor do I really use stuff that requires that amount of memory, so this is quite sufficient. It mimics what would have been in the system back in the day, and that's really what I'm going for most of the time when I restore these systems. Let's take a look at the feature score. Lowest score is the desktop performance for Windows Aero. So the Aero graphics stuff that makes it do things like this. Yeah, that's what it's about. That's what Aero is about. This thing does fine doing those kinds of things, but it certainly is the lowest scoring feature. Well, you know, looking at the processor, it runs pretty well at a 6.7 out of 7.9 max. And, you know, the rest of it, the processor, the RAM, the disk access speed, everything else seems to be pretty spot on. And of course the graphics, it's an Intel system, so that's the weak point, as we've always known. But weak point doesn't necessarily mean not usable or anything like that. Let's focus in on, since we're on the topic of graphics, we'll close this out. Let's go to the graphical information here in Windows. Windows gives us actually quite a bit. So it's using the Intel HD graphics that the Core i5 is using, and it's got 64 megabytes of dedicated RAM, and then it's using the system RAM. The system RAM is DDR3, so that's not a bad thing. The display is running at 1440 by 900, actually very decent size display for its time, and I find it's adequate. I can still read it, but actually gives me lots of screen space. This is the Intel i5 520M. It's an Arendelle. It's got a 32 nanometer process, so it's fairly large, but not as large as some, but it'll run fairly warm. And there's your instruction sets and your stepping and all that jazz. And it's got 2 cores and 4 threads. Nice, I like that. I like to see 4 threads. It makes me feel like I got something a little more on the modern side. It's that one step above Core 2 Duo. Here is the info about the motherboard, and the BIOS are fully updated to A17. Now, I've mentioned before, sometimes I don't install the BIOS all the time because I'm paranoid about bricking the system, and I have bricked probably 3 different systems that I got the BIOS directly from the website of the manufacturer and installed them, and lo and behold, bricked. And I just had to scrap the systems for the parts. So yeah, be very careful with BIOS updates. Sometimes they, for whatever reason, companies will release these, and I don't know, they're sketchy sometimes, so just be very careful. This one I did update, didn't have a problem. This one has a functioning battery, so it makes it a little easier to update the system as well. Dell's, I find, are pretty solid for their updating software. So I took the chance. I wanted to do that because I knew there was a few things I needed to update in association with the BIOS, and it made a difference. So I took the chance. And what am I drinking? I'm drinking coffee. And it's kind of late, actually, for me to be drinking coffee. It's already 7:30 p.m., but whatever. The DDR3 RAM is 4 gigabytes, running at 533 dual channel. Let's take a look at those sticks. Stick 1, slot 1, is a Hyundai from 2010. This is a 2010 system. Slot 2 is Hyundai, same thing, so likely original RAM. Graphics we've already looked at, and there's some more information about it. Total of 1.7 gigabytes of RAM shared, essentially, and that's good. Let's take a look at the overall general stuff. It's running pretty warm, but I have been using it quite a bit today, so doing different things, updating and stuff like that. I hope it's done its updating. I don't know. Let me just quickly check something. I always like to check and see. I don't see a thing saying shutdown update, so that's good. And let's go to device manager. Always like to make sure that the device manager is clear. I'm pretty sure I've checked this already, but just for everybody's sake, we'll take a look at it. All right, let's take a look. All right, I don't see anything with exclamation points, so things are looking good. Has the drivers for the graphics. That's what we're really looking for. That's going to make the difference. Okay, so yeah, that's that. What else can I tell you here? Let me just grab another shot of my coffee here and keep on going. consistently warm, so probably could use some thermal paste, but we're not going to do that today. One thing I can say about this thing, it has one of the best bottom access to anything I've seen in a while. One screw and the whole bottom comes out, and you can get access to all the fan, all the stuff you want to, like if you need to repaste the thermal paste, not hard. Yeah, everything's just really easy to get at, so it's awesome. Love it. Dell did a great job on these business level laptops. All right, so what are we looking at? This is that, okay, so I took a janky laptop and I had a janky SATA hard drive. So I think it's a 120, I think. So I used it because I knew it had some complaints, some warnings on it, but I figured, well, it's a janky laptop, I don't even know if this thing's gonna work. So I used the jank. I married jank with jank, and now I've got like a super jank laptop. But, you know, true to the MacGyver philosophy, I pieced it together and it's working. So if it's working, don't mess with it. All right, so here we go. There's the, looks like a Seagate, or is it a something? Is it a Seagate? It's an ST. Could be another one, I don't know. We'll have to find out. What is this? ST. It's either Seagate or Toshiba. Travel Star or whatever, I don't know. Anyway, it's a hard drive, a spinning type. It's got only 300 access, so it's not even running super awesome, but it does run at 7,200 RPM, so it's got a quick access time, and it's got some miles on it. Let's take a look. Yeah, so under a year, but despite that, so you think, oh, that's not too bad. Well, guess what? We got yellow lights all over the place. We got location reallocated sector counts. We got current pending sector count. We got uncorrectable sector count warnings going up. So yeah, this thing's on its last leg, the hard drive. But you know what? I've seen these things last a lot longer than you'd expect, and the temperature isn't too bad. So it's going to be what it is. And at some point, I'll probably, like I said, recycle some of my Windows 10 hard drives and put them in these Windows 7 laptops that have janky hard drives. Okay, done. Let's go and do the Nova. And just so you know, like I was going to show you guys, demonstrate this thing. This is like the Dell On, like I think they call it Latitude On Latitude or something like that. It's basically a thing that'll operate outside of Windows, kind of like almost like a little Linux sort of distribution on a chip, on a external like flash drive. Unfortunately, when I open this one up, I realized it doesn't have the external drive, so I can't install the full version. The only version I can install is a reader, which allows you to get access to your Outlook files. So it's not really worth demoing, but yeah, that's a thing. Let's see if I can turn off some of this stuff so that it's not taking up resources. Let's see. Dell touchpad, can I turn that off? No. I don't think I can turn this off either. Nope. What about this? Exit tray. We can get rid of that, sure. And we can turn off this. This is my virtual CD. Okay, so here we go. Make sure everything's off, and everything is off. Let's go. Let's give this thing a run. So how the heck are you doing this Thursday, December the 18th in the evening? Is it? Yep, 7:30. I hope you're doing well. I hope you're having a great day. And I'm glad to get back to you. I've been basically running this thing overnight, getting all kinds of updates going, so I can show you this. What are we at? Oh yeah, over 100. Over 100. Yeah, that's acceptable. I'm liking the Intel graphics with the DDR3 it's using system memory. And it's rating to the hard drive, which is great. 7200, that's great. And what do we got? What do we got? What do we got? What do we got? Woo! Yeah, 545, 547, that's great. For this kind of thing, 2010, this is like outstanding. So the graphics are scoring a very respectable 32 at 111 frames. It has frames per second. It has decent score for the hardware, which is basically the drive access. It's got very good score for the CPU and a very good score for the RAM. So here you go, guys. There it is. A very decent laptop for a jank pickup for 20 bucks or whatever it was that I paid. That I only bought it because it posted. I sort of used to, when I used to go to the store, I used to have a philosophy. If it posts, pick it up. And I didn't even notice that it was missing the drive door and all that. But I always have like a few old hard drives kicking around, so I figured I'd have that to replace anything that's missing. I also am able to replace the memory. I have a lot of memory kicking around from salvage systems. So a lot of times I can replace the memory, I can replace the hard drive. Typically I can't upgrade it beyond 4 gigabytes because it's usually 2 gigabyte sticks. But I mean, all in all, it's quite a cool little system to me. I didn't expect it to be as good as it is, and I have some of these other, Latitudes, older ones, and some that are sort of this generation. But this is kind of one of the better ones. I like the fact it has the little nub to move around your mouse. Yeah, I like that. I quite like it. It's very that's very, what do you call it? ThinkPad-y. ThinkPad-ish. It's a ThinkPad-ish laptop. Doesn't really have a camera. It has a light sensor for adjusting the brightness of your system, and it has this weird latch here. But other than that, yeah, it's very much a Latitude of its time, if you know what I mean. And the battery does hold a charge, which is kind of nice, but it's probably more of the battery sort of uninterrupted power supply level type battery. It doesn't really hold a long charge or anything like that, but you can unplug it and move it around and plug it back in, and it won't crash. So that's the level of battery we're probably looking at. I haven't really tested it out. It gives me some kind of message every time I go to use it, so probably the battery's shot to, for functionality. But I quite like this thing, and if I had the drive door, I think this would be like a top-notch system. Without the drive door, it's kind of janky. Any kind of bump or whatever is going to give this thing a lot of trouble. But I've refurbished it as good as it gets. Put some feet on there. There's missing some feet, so I put some rubber things I had, and yeah, it's not moving around. It's stuck. It's pretty solid. Yeah, and this keyboard, oh, it's nice. I can't really explain to you how good it feels to type on. It's quite nice. It's right up there with all I'm gonna say is it's right up there with the IBM keyboard, frankly. Quite like it. So yeah, great laptop. Hey, if you just need something to type on, like you've got a document you want to work on, you know, and or you know, wiki page or you know, something of that nature. You're not like editing video. You're not doing too intensive graphic work. You're not trying to play a game on it. I honestly think these are some of the best laptops you can use because the keyboard's so nice to work with. And that's the thing, like sometimes people forget, like what do you come in contact with when you're using a laptop? It's the keyboard mostly. So if you get a crappy keyboard, your experience is going to be terrible. And you're also using a trackpad a lot of times, and these trackpads are very good for what they are. So if you're actually looking for productivity and just working, doing a lot of typing and stuff, this is great. Can't beat it. So yeah, there you go, guys. That's going to be it for my Latitude E6410. I've still got a few things to do with it. The other thing I've been doing is I've been using an old floppy drive because I can. I'm using my EVGA mouse, quite like it. I've been using my Gigabyte keyboard, and I've been salvaging a bunch of files from a external hard drive. And what's kind of cool about it is I ran across, on this drive, the show called Desperate Housewives. And I've never watched this show. It's a bit of a soap opera, but it's pretty comical. I actually am enjoying it because it's, you know, a bunch of somebody's pirated copies of DVDs or whatever. But yeah, I'm kind of like just watching Desperate Housewives while I'm working on other things, and it is a soap opera, I'm telling you. But what a funny show! Like, I mean, honestly, the performances are excellent. The stories are comical. I think it probably like put a lot of people's careers on the map, and I think it went many seasons. But like I said, I never watched it when it was on TV, and it's not really my thing generally. But I happened to watch it because it was on this hard drive I was salvaging and going through all the stuff that they had on it. Ran across these files, started watching the pilot, and thought, this is really interesting. Kind of like, I like the idea that the starting point is a narration by a dead person. If you know, you know. Very interesting. Anyway, that's going to be it, guys. That's going to be my video, my ramble, sort of tangent-y video that I do because that's my style. And I hope you like it. And for all those Linux users, there's all kinds of people doing videos about Linux. So if you like that kind of thing, dig up one of those channels, because I'm not going to do Linux anymore. Tried it, did it, realized I don't really like Linux, and I'm just making videos to get views. I don't do that. So if you like that, go find a Linux channel. There's lots of guys will tell you, put Linux on it, and yeah, you'll be able to use Emacs and spend hours and hours trying to learn how to use it just so you can edit a text file. Yeah, it's great. Very productive. Anyway, guys, as for those who are interested in restoring laptops to their wonderful, beautiful Windows 7, Windows 10 era, Windows Vista, Windows XP era systems, well, that's what you're going to find on my channel, because I love those old operating systems. I know how to use them. I know how to use all the software that's on them. And guess what? They just work. No farting around with things. They got all the drivers you need. They got support software that all works. When you try and increase the volume. Let's see if it does this. Let's see. I'm going to try. What does it do? Yeah, see? It actually works. Like, your volume controls work. Your mute works, and everything's on screen, heads up display. It's great. I love that. I love that everything just works, and you can see that it's all working, and you can check the drivers, and it's not a mystery half the time if 50% of your drivers are screwed up. it just works, and it performed. You know, these things were designed for Windows 7. They weren't designed for Vista, or not Vista, Windows 11. They weren't even designed for Windows 10. They weren't designed for, and they weren't designed for XP or Vista either. They were designed for Windows 7. Where is that? Oh, don't have it, but it's underneath the battery. It was designed for Windows 7. Somebody took off the sticker. But yeah, it was designed for Windows 7, and you know what? It works great. It works great with Windows 7, and it, you know, even with a hard drive, it works great with Windows 7. Now you throw Linux on it, probably work okay. You know, especially if you're really somebody who's into Linux and you're into that kind of stuff, it'll probably work okay. If you're a programmer, I'd probably throw Linux on it for sure. Lots of stuff you can do with that. If you're just somebody who likes to use old systems like myself, that's why I put Windows 7 on it. Nostalgia factor, gets the job done. Surprisingly useful in every way. And yeah, some of the best software that ever was written before it all went cloud. And I can take this thing somewhere without an internet connection and get a ton of stuff done. So that's my rant, because I'm ranty. I should probably just rename my channel The Rant Channel. Anyway, that's it, guys. Hope you're having a great Thursday. I hope you're enjoying your Linux system. If you're a Linux user, please go somewhere else. If you are somebody who appreciates Windows 7, Windows 10, Windows XP, Windows Vista, Windows. If you like that kind of stuff, come back to my channel. You'll see more. And yeah, if you like nostalgic old computers like this with such very interesting keyboards as such, and you know, that you can open up and you can change absolutely everything on the inside of these things. If you're that type of person, then come on back. If you're someone who's going to want to see a video that says, I've saved this computer by putting Linux on it, well, probably not, because it'll run pretty poorly, you know, with a modern, I mean, honestly, put a modern version of Linux on one of these systems and it's just dog slow. So honestly, you're really better off getting a newer computer if you're really going to go Linux, and really like installing the latest and greatest, if that's your deal. And then really honestly, there's use cases for Linux, but it isn't what my use of the hardware's for. I mean, if you're running a server, great, they're awesome. There's a lot of things Linux does well. If you're a programmer, Linux is paradise. If you're the average user who just wants to do some basic, you know, productivity stuff, Windows is better for me. Anyway, guys, that's it. That's my video, as I keep on repeating over and over again. Talk to you in the next one. Bye.